Welcome to Ipob Rapture Media. The case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Ipob, against the federal government of Nigeria has sparked controversy and raised concerns about the rule of law and human rights in the country. This dispute revolves around the unlawful withholding of the Certificate of Transfer of Custody, CTC, in the case of Kanu, which has far-reaching implications for Nigeria's compliance with international treaties and its commitment to combating terrorism. The Terrorism, Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022 provides a comprehensive definition of act of terrorism in Section 2(3)(f), which states that it refers to an act performed willfully to further an ideology, whether political, religious, racial, or ethnic, and which violates the provisions of any international treaty or resolution to which Nigeria is a party. This definition clearly encompasses the federal government's refusal to obey extradition treaties and its extraordinary rendition of Nnamdi Kanu. By unlawfully withholding Kanu's CTC, Nigeria is effectively disregarding its treaty obligations and violating international law. This not only raises questions about the country's respect for the rule of law, but also labels those responsible for this act as terrorists themselves. The presidency, the justices of the Supreme Court, and the Nigerian entity, as mentioned in the original statement, are implicated by their involvement in this blatant disregard for international treaties. Moreover, it is essential to emphasize the significance of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, which is the supreme law of the land. Section 12 of the Constitution sets out the procedure for treaty ratification and implementation, establishing the binding nature of international treaties once they are ratified and incorporated into domestic law. Therefore, the federal government's refusal to abide by extradition treaties and its failure to release the CTC of Nnamdi Kanu not only violates international obligations, but also undermines the constitutional framework of Nigeria itself. The actions of the federal government in this case have given rise to valid concerns about the erosion of the rule of law, the infringement of human rights, and the abuse of power. Withholding the CTC without proper legal justification undermines the principles of fair trial, due process, and the right to legal representation. It raises suspicions of political motives and arbitrary decision-making, which are antithetical to a functioning democracy. Furthermore, the involvement of the Supreme Court justices in this controversy raises questions about the judiciary's independence and impartiality. The judiciary plays a crucial role in upholding the Constitution and ensuring justice for all citizens. If there are indications that justices have been used as tools to legitimize acts that violate international treaties and flout the constitutional provisions, it undermines public trust in the judiciary and the entire justice system. It is imperative that Nigeria adheres to the rule of law, respects its international treaty obligations, and upholds constitutional principles. Arbitrary practices such as the unlawful withholding of certificates and the refusal to obey extradition treaties erode the foundations of a just and democratic society. The international community should closely monitor this case and call on Nigeria to address these concerns promptly. The dispute between Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the federal government of Nigeria highlights critical issues concerning the rule of law, human rights, and international treaty obligations. The refusal to release the Certificate of Transfer of Custody in violation of international treaties raises legitimate concerns about the actions of the Nigerian government and its commitment to combating terrorism. It is crucial for Nigeria to address these concerns promptly and ensure that justice is served within the confines of the law and international obligations. The case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu versus the federal government of Nigeria is not just a legal battle. It represents a larger struggle for self-determination and the recognition of indigenous rights. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a prominent figure advocating for the referendum for Biafrans, a region in southeastern Nigeria that historically had its own independent state before being forcibly amalgamated into modern-day Nigeria. The demand for self-determination is not unique to Biafra. It has been a recurring theme in many regions worldwide. International law recognizes the inherent right of indigenous peoples to determine their own political status and pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. While the rights of indigenous peoples are protected by various international instruments, including the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the reality on the ground often falls short of these commitments. In the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the issue of self-determination and the treatment of IPOB movements comes to the forefront. While freedom from your oppressors itself is a complex and contentious matter, it is essential to approach it with respect for the rights and aspirations of the people involved. The suppression of such movements without addressing the underlying issues only breeds discontent and perpetuates tensions. The response of the Nigerian government to the calls for self-determination has been characterized by heavy-handed measures, including the arrest and detention of individuals like Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. However, it is crucial to distinguish between legitimate concerns about national security and the right of individuals to express their grievances peacefully. The government's response should be guided by principles of dialogue, inclusivity, and respect for human rights. Furthermore, the ongoing detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu raises concerns about the fairness and impartiality of the legal process. It is important to ensure that due process, as outlined in both domestic and international law, is followed. Transparency in the judicial proceedings and adherence to fundamental principles of justice will not only serve the interests of the accused, but will also promote the rule of law and public trust in the justice system. In the pursuit of a just and peaceful resolution to the issues at hand, it is crucial for all stakeholders, including the Nigerian government, the leadership of IPOB, civil society organizations, and the international community, to engage in open and constructive dialogue. This dialogue should be aimed at addressing the grievances of marginalized groups, promoting inclusive governance, and finding sustainable solutions that respect the rights and aspirations of all parties involved. The case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu versus the federal government of Nigeria is a complex and multifaceted issue that brings to the forefront questions of self-determination, respect for human rights, and the rule of law. It serves as a reminder that conflicts rooted in identity and historical injustices require nuanced and inclusive approaches for their resolution. The release of the unlawfully withheld CTC and the fair treatment of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu are not just matters of justice for an individual, but also a test of Nigeria's commitment to upholding its treaty obligations, protecting human rights, and fostering a climate of inclusivity and dialogue. The resolution of this case has broader implications for the stability, peace, and development of Nigeria, and serves as an opportunity to address underlying grievances and work towards a more equitable and just society for all its citizens.